We know that you were born magical. We know that you are intuitive, and we know that you are brimming with everyday enchantment. Here at the Sisters Enchanted, we believe in intention, we believe in intuition, and we believe in everyday magic. Welcome in to the Expedition to Soul podcast.
Hey everybody! Welcome to another episode of the Expedition to Soul podcast. I'm Anna, co-founder here at the Sisters Enchanted, and I'm here with Sarah Milne, our program director and team member extraordinaire and co-teacher of all things. Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Anna. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I appear to be losing some marbles slowly over time. So this astro forecast is going to be good for the week of May 9th. So Sarah, what's going on for us for that week?
Right. We're going to think back to last week. We talked about Venus entering Aries. Okay. So Venus is in Aries. Venus is still in Aries. Okay. Jupiter joins Venus in Aries. And we talked about Jupiter as well. We talked about the stories last week. So we're already feeling kind of like bold in desire and love. And we had that like Anna's cards giving us that little warning that just make sure you stay in your lane and perhaps don't kind of upset people too much. So Jupiter's going to blow that up now. Jupiter takes things and blows it up because it's that gas planet of expansion. And it is the planet of luck and fortune, but because it shows it's the planet of opportunity, and it's luck and fortune for opportunity, but it also expands things. So we're going to be even more now, even more confident, even more headstrong. And we've still got Venus there in Aries. So we're going to be even more headstrong and confident in those things we talked about last week, in those kind of desires and love and finances and that kind of stuff. But then generally, we're going to feel confident, headstrong, perhaps quite competitive, because we might see opportunity through competition with when Jupiter's in Aries, it's like Mars loves competition. Mars is super competitive, and when Jupiter's in Mars's Aries the sign of Mars, it can make us feel a bit competitive. So we might have a bit of rocking with each other and like make sure that competition is kind of like useful and helpful. And at the same time, this is quite a week. At the same time as all of this, we've got Mercury going back into retrograde for the second time this year. And this is in Gemini. And it hits on Taurus. It goes back into Taurus. So it's going Gemini into Taurus and then Gemini. So Gemini back into Taurus for a while. So we are being challenged to think differently about our experiences. So remember, retrograde is a good thing. Retrograde is all about helping us to see things from a different perspective. So Gemini is that planet of sign of experience and communication. So it might be all about how am I need to rethink my experiences here, or what I'm thinking is a good experience or not a good experience, or am I experiencing enough of things in these different areas, and also how I'm perceiving the experiences of others. So we might find it a bit difficult when we have retrograde. We sometimes have some blocks in our communication. So am I properly able to interpret and perceive the experiences other people's are having, and maybe as a result of my behavior. So we've got all this energy, all this like super bold, confident, competitive energy. Venus, that planet of love and desire, is involved in the mix. Jupiter blowing it all up, and now we've got this Mercury retrograde. So we might find that we're struggling to perceive others, or have others, when you're kind of like, look, you're not understanding what I'm saying. How many times have you said that? It's like, because just can't perceive the experience you're coming from. So we definitely need some hot tips this week.
Right, yes.
So number one, be super careful with your communication. Really think before you speak, because all of this fire is just going to make you want to go, especially when it comes to these kind of like sensitive areas like love and money. Just be super careful. It might be more difficult for people to understand. That's my first tip. My second tip is be prepared to look at your experiences of life through different perspectives, and through the perspectives of others as well. It's a really good a really good like few weeks to really, before this week and next, before Mercury goes back into Taurus, really think about how am I experiencing, what are my experiences, how do other people perceive my experiences, how am I perceiving their experience, and where is there that disconnect that's just because we need to take that different perspective a little bit. And my third tip is to be open to opportunities with Jupiter in Aries, and assert yourself when they arrive, because an opportunity might arise and it might be like Aries is super quick, super fast, this fire energy. It might only be there for a short period of time, and you might kind of think, oh, I really want to put myself forward, but I'll think about it, and then it's gone. And it could have been an opportunity that really would have led to big abundance for you. So make sure that you keep alert to those. Jupiter only brings us luck and abundance when we work, when we recognize those opportunities. It helps us see opportunities when we take those opportunities. So be sure to keep kind of that third eye and your intuition open to opportunities. And when you think you've got one, strike.
Yes. I think that it's so important to remember that Jupiter is expansive and does, bring, luck and abundance when it's kind of doing its thing. But that you have to be like ready to like receive that. And that there's also like the flip side too, that if you're somebody that has like a lot of Jupiter influence in your chart, that Jupiter can almost be so expansive and abundance giving that you don't even realize it, and that it becomes like something that you take for granted. And then sometimes you can take advantage of things because you're, it's so easy. It's so easy. And especially with that like fiery energy, always to show gratitude. That's one of the important things just in life, like when you're trying to do intentions and you're trying to set something, it's always, show gratitude for like what you did get, and not just be like, I'm getting,
Absolutely. I am super Jupiter. I mean, Jupiter rules my chart. I have a lot in Sagittarius, and I also have my ascendant in Leo. So I'm fire and I'm very Jupiter orientated. And my grandmother has it just on. She always said to me that, well, she didn't, my mum told me, she said to my mum told me recently actually, that I made a lot in lots of areas. Like I was kind of like one of these kids, she died when I was a teenager. So I was one of these kids that was super talented at everything I tried to do, and always wanted to be the best of everything I ever did. But because I had all these opportunities, I never stuck with any one thing. If she'd have just stuck at one thing and put all that effort and energy into one thing, she would have like changed the world in that one thing. But instead she spread it all out.
Yeah,
that's Jupiter not using that kind of earth enough to balance it instead. Yeah,
and I think that's important, because oftentimes you talk about Jupiter and it is like abundance, luck and abundance, and everybody's like luck and abundance, and you just talked about Mercury retrograde, and people are gonna be like, oh, Mercury retrograde, but remembering that all things in the sky have a shadow and a light. And while everybody's worried about Mercury retrograde, which I don't think twice about anymore, I'm more aware of like Jupiter's doing this like fiery thing, and like make sure that I'm not doing anything that's too expansive that blows people over, or kind of like the theme of last week, takes advantage of something. It's hard. I did pull some cards while you were talking, and I think that's a really great message for today. This is a Little Monsters Tarot. It's cute. And this is the Four of Arrows. So this is like the Four of Swords. So usually the Four of Swords is like stop, take a rest. But I pulled it with the Queen of Cups today, and she's kind of like looking away. And I pulled these while Sarah was talking about, be careful because people might not understand like what you're saying this week. And this made me think of, because the Queen of Cups here, queens in your court cards are typically kind of looking towards you, or at least to the side. But this Queen of Cups is like looking back, which makes me think of looking inward, looking back and inward on yourself, and taking a minute, because those swords are not just our thoughts, but it's our communication, but really stopping and taking a minute to look inward before you take that action that is expansive of like the heart and what you want, and like going into this like fiery expansiveness. Just like stop, take a deep breath, Like, even if you're going to do it, just like stop, take a deep breath, check in, and then like step into it. Don't go up in like a ball of flame trying to get everything ready. And this is also really important too, because of Mercury retrograde, to stop and take some consideration time, and to just, because this energy is going to be like, go, move. And it's really important if you can just take a second, you know, look inward, make sure you're doing things that you really want to do, that like are feeding you in a positive way, in the way that the Queen of Cups would want you to feel, and just take a second, sit with it before running into it like head first. You know, just ease into it. And then once you've eased into it, then take that energy, you know, by the horns, and let that fire put you in the direction that you want. But do it with a purpose. Checked in purpose. Yeah.
I like it.
That's it. That's it.
I love it. No, be like, expand, but be careful. Be careful. I would say that you don't expand in too, like I've done throughout my life, and still probably do, expand in too many areas. Like every area I want to be in, I expand, and it's just like you end up like getting exhausted, or not making, like my grandmother said, a big enough impact in one area, because you've got lots of different pots of expansion. So like Sagittarius, like, you know, the sign of Jupiter does like to put that arrow and pinpoint it. So really like focus that opportunity. And yeah, be careful. Make sure that you're looking at people, taking on the perspective of others. And
I was just going to say this because this because it is the arrows, but also has this like triangle energy. And it was making me, and then you said that Sagittarius, like point your arrow in the direction, that there is a lot of energy, but if you can focus it, you know, take a deep breath and focus it, and then put it up, you know, get it into the direction that you need it to go, to make sure that it is serving, you know, your best emotional like goodness, then do that. Don't just like bust open the roof and have energy go flying everywhere. Like, try to direct it at like a goal, so that, you know, it doesn't expand so much, you know, that it's uncontrollable. So I think that's pretty good. I think that is something to think about. So happy Mercury retrograde. Get excited for that. And thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Anna. It was good. It was fun.
Yeah, so we'll see you all next week for another episode of the astrology podcast as a part of the Expedition to Soul podcast. Thanks so much.
If you liked this episode of the Expedition to Soul podcast, please rate, review, subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, it will really help us spread everyday magic, intention, and intuition to the masses, and helps us so much as a small business. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. There are new episodes every Tuesday, and astro forecasts for the week ahead every Friday. If there's any topics you'd want to hear, anything you want us to dive deeper into, shoot us an email at magic@thesistersenchanted.com. And as always, thank you so much for listening and being part of the community here at the Sisters Enchanted. And we'll see you in the next episode.